Welcome back, everyone. We are finally here in my new garage, ready to get some work done. If you haven't seen my last video, make sure to go check that out first. I explained why I got this garage and what my plans are for this place moving forward. So I'm super eager to get all of my stuff in here, move everything in, get all my tools, and get straight to work. But one of the things that I mentioned in that video was I really want to take some time to make this place look as nice as possible before I move everything in. So as much as I would love perfection, that's not what I'm going for. I'm trying to be realistic about my timeline, how long I actually plan on being here. This is not going to be my forever shop, so I'm trying to keep that in mind. But I think a little bit of attention, some fresh paint on the walls will definitely go a long way. So we all know that one of the key things to a good paint job is prep. So I want to take the time, address some of the issues in this garage. There's a lot of pinholes on the walls. I don't know how they got there. I want to get all that taken care of, find a way or figure out a way to get those filled. There's some of the metal's bent in certain areas, so I want to get all that straightened out, address some of the rust issues. And even though this sounds like a lot of stuff, like I said, I think I can kind of run through everything pretty quick, just good enough to get the paint on there. But one of the more obvious things is addressing all the dirt and grime all over the place. So what I'm going to do is get the push broom. I'm going to run through everything, get everything nice and clean, get all the loose dirt off. Once we get everything clean and pressure washed, I really think that's going to give us a good solid foundation for paint. So I'm going to get this camera put down, get everything set up, and we're going to get straight to it. It's the next day. I had to shut the cameras off last night when I was doing all the pressure washing. By the time I got to the ceiling, there was water dripping all over the place, and I didn't want to get my camera gear all messed up, so I put that away. But I allowed time to dry. Everything is mostly dried. So today we're going to start getting to a lot of these other issues, like the pinholes and some of the bent metal. So I got a few things from Home Depot, a few products I'm going to try out. I'm not sure what's going to work, but I'm going to give a few things a try and see if we can get these holes patched up. So let's get right to it. You can see the garage door has a little bit of damage to it. You can see it's bent in this area. And right here, this whole piece is twisted, and so is this little, I don't know what you call it, hinge. I think what I'm gonna do is just take all this off, unbolt these, get this piece off, and see if we can hammer this straight. And then there's a few little waves in there, but I'm pretty sure I can get that taken care of. That's the main problem. So after a little bit of work, this is what we have now. It is not perfect, but it's much better than it was. You can tell up top it's a lot cleaner. We were able to straighten out this bar mostly. This was all bent. This part was bent. This was bent. This was bent. So it's looking pretty good. It's not perfect. There's still some waves in it. This bottom part, the very, very bottom, is rotted. You can see some of the rust there. I'm gonna try to address that later. But again, I don't want to spend so much time on these details. I'm just ready to get some paint on here. All this is looking pretty good. I might even eventually do some like insulation panels on each one. So that'll help out too. The day's here. Today is paint day. So we're finally gonna get some paint on these walls. It's not 100% prepped, but I set myself a deadline and I said I'm gonna get it to a certain point. This is the day that I'm gonna paint. I have the paint sprayer, I have the paint, so we're gonna make it happen. It's not 100%, but let me show you what it's looking like right now. It's a little bit of a mess in here, but these walls are looking pretty good. They were very dirty and filthy. Covered up all those little pinholes, so that's just about ready to go. All the holes up there covered. We got the garage door mostly straightened out. All those holes covered. All this is ready to go. These are looking pretty good. These are in good shape. Everything's looking good there. Doors nice and yellow, so that's gonna look nice with some paint on it. There was a bunch of screws and hooks and brackets and stuff that I took off. I filled some holes, some patches. There was a bunch of little like cable runners and stuff that I took off. All these are patched, and I went over them real quick just to sand them. I'm gonna sand them one more time, go over this. Before we start this, I'm gonna make sure that everything looks good. I'm going to maybe quickly mask off some stuff. I might not even fully mask, to be honest. I just wanna lay the paint down, and then any areas that might need a touch up or I have to go back with the brush, we can always do that. But I'm gonna tackle it that way. Get one side done, then we'll do here. Before I get to this side, I'm gonna run over, sand it again, just to make sure it's smooth. Lay the paint down, and that's kind of the method that I'm going to use. So in the office, we took off those nasty curtains, and then we put some little bit of patchwork here, patchwork up there. Those for sure need to be sanded. All the holes that were here, we patched up. A bunch of little holes here. So once again, before we get in here, I'm gonna run through it one more time, sand it, get the paint on the walls, and we should be good. It's super hot today, so that's gonna be nice and fun. You're gonna see me sweating and looking nice and shiny. But I wanna stress again, this place is not really ready for paint, but I'm gonna make it happen. And the idea behind it is, I'm gonna lay the paint on the walls, and I think that mostly everything is gonna be fine. It's gonna be okay. Everything's already been cleaned. But if there's any areas that really stick out, that really need some attention, then I can go back and then fix those later with a hand roller or with a paintbrush. But I have the paint sprayer rented from Home Depot, so I have it for 24 hours, so we're gonna make that happen. I don't even have 24 hours. I have maybe like 7, 8 hours. So I think we can get this done. So we're gonna get all set up and get right to it. So one big thing for me was I really wanted to try to get this garage air conditioned. Now, usually that's pretty difficult in garages because you have to deal with a lot of air leaks around the garage doors and just a bunch of different areas where that air can escape. But I'm really not trying to get it icy cold in here. I just want it at least comfortable enough to where I can have the doors closed. I can work in here nice and comfortably. So the solution I have is trying to work with this small AC that I have right now. This is in the office. It's just a small little 5,000 BTU air condition window unit. And for this space, this is maybe a 150, 200 square foot little office. It does well with that. But I'm trying to air condition this whole area out here. So I got this. This is an LG 14,000 BTU window unit. It's fairly large, brand new. I did a lot of research and this is one that had really, really good reviews. It's super quiet, very powerful, and the space is rated for something about this size. That thing would be massive for this office, but what I'm thinking is I can have the door open and hopefully it can cool out there decently well. And if that goes pretty well, I can start to seal some of the doors and kind of slowly start to address some of those little air leaks and stuff just to make it that much better. But again, as long as it's comfortable, I'll be happy with that. But this thing is way smaller than the LG that we're trying to put in. So I'm gonna get this unit taken out. Right now it just has some like framing around it. I'm probably gonna have to support it with some 2x4s. I'm not sure yet, but we just gotta get this out and see what we're working with. Check out the size difference. It's pretty drastic. I think it's safe to say we're gonna have to make that a little bit larger. Got the AC in there. Got a pretty snug fit. Kind of notched it out here for the power cord. There's a little channel along the AC on the bottom for the cord to run through, so that's not being pinched at all. Everything looks pretty good. I'm just gonna add a little bit of trim around here just to make it look a little bit neater. That'll end up being painted as well. Everything is already supported on the back. I left just a slight little slant to it just so that the water can drain. I tested it out, it's draining, everything looks pretty good, so now I can get that trim on there. I wanted to give a little update on the garage. Well, it's actually a big update because the painting is officially done. Thank God, because it took so much longer than I thought it was gonna take. I really should have known better because that always happens. It usually takes a lot longer than I think it is, but it's done. I did a lot of painting, some trim work, and some other things off camera that I just didn't feel like filming. I just wanted to get in there and get it done, but I did get it done. I'm calling it done, so let's see what it looks like right now. So starting here with the door, you can see that this is all taken care of and painted. All the holes up there are patched. This garage door looks a million times better. That was fun to paint. All the walls here looking nice and bright white. I took care of all that rust that was up there, repainted that. All of the gray trim, the bars, not really trim, but all the gray parts were repainted as well. Walls looking nice and white. Repainted all this trim. That board is just kind of a temporary solution to another issue that I'll explain later. But everything's looking really good. Definitely freshened everything up. Oh, this door as well. Nice and white. It was very yellow before. We have our AC blowing nice and cold. Not much to see here other than a nice bright white room that once had a lot of holes in it. I definitely want to take care of this. I'm probably going to mount the TV on this side and hide a lot of those wires because I cannot stand wires and I don't like that mess. So I will get to that later, but I don't really want to waste too much time on that right now. All the trim, everything's redone, except for the baseboard. And I'll get to that in a minute. I definitely want to give you guys a proper walkthrough and show you everything that I've done so far. It's really made a big difference, but today's actually a really big day. We're running low on time, and what we're going to be doing today is tackling the concrete floors. Now, this is something I wanted to do in a separate video, but I didn't want to drag it out too long, have all these different videos. I want to get back to the RAM content, so we're just going to get straight to it. Kind of like when I painted the walls, I really wasn't ready to do it 100%. I kind of had to do some things along the way, but I just wanted to get the project done, and it worked out. Well, the same thing now. I'm not 100% ready to get these floors done. Never done it before, but I already rented the grinder from Home Depot. It was not cheap. It's pretty expensive just to rent it. So now I don't have a choice. I need to get it done. So there's a lot of stuff that I'm gonna have to clear out. All these things in the main area. I'm gonna be moving that to the office so that we can clear everything out, start grinding the floors. And the goal also, like I was showing you in the office, right now it has some really old, nasty looking tile, and it's like that stick-on tile. And I believe that underneath that is a plywood subfloor that's all rotted, and that's what it feels like, at least. I'm hoping that's what it is. So I'm gonna try to rip that out as well and resurface that concrete as well. Hopefully, that's the goal. But for now, we're gonna focus on this main area. I have the grinder here. This is the wheel that we're gonna be using. It has these little blade thingies on it. I've seen some videos on it. Seems like it works really well. Never used it, so we're gonna see how this works together. Anytime you're gonna be cutting or grinding concrete, the dust that comes up from the concrete is very bad for your lungs, so you do not want to be breathing that in. Unfortunately, I do not have a mask. I should have a mask. I don't recommend doing it this way. However, with this grinder that I'm gonna be using, I was told that I can do it either dry or wet. So the goal is to try to keep everything wet as I'm grinding it. That way the dust is contained. That's gonna help keep the fresh painted walls clean, as well as keep the dust out of the air. So that's the goal. I'm gonna give it a try. Again, I don't recommend attempting this. I'm gonna see how it goes. While I'm doing this, if I see that there's a lot of dust coming up, I don't wanna be breathing that in, so I will stop what I'm doing, go to the store, get me a mask, and I'll make sure to get that taken care of. But again, we're running out of time. I'm melting away and I'm losing time on the grinder. So I'm gonna get this place cleared out and we're gonna start tackling these floors. Got the concrete all wet. If you remember, we have this painted section, which is part of the reason why I'm doing this. Get all this off of there, and then just to resurface everything. Hopefully the water will keep the dust down. I don't know how this is gonna go. I kind of just gave it a quick little test pull, and that thing is beastly. It's not at all like the videos. So I'm gonna set this camera down and we'll see how it goes. We're making a little bit of progress. Man, this thing is brutal. It's really, really hard to control. There's definitely a trick or a method that I've yet to figure out. I'm getting a little better at it. Basically, you want to keep the handles at the waist and you steer with the hips. I know that sounds funny, but that's the best way to do it. And I've been able to get a little bit of control using that method. So the thing is, wetting the concrete definitely helps to keep the dust down. I mean, there's really no dust coming up as I'm doing it. The problem with that though is it's very, very hard to see what you're doing. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So you can see this is where the painted section was. And that part was a little bit easier because it was blue, so I can see when that's coming off. But this is what it looks like as I'm going through it. But as it starts to dry, this is the way it looks. And you could see it along here. The thing is, while it's wet, this is what it looks like. And I cannot see what I'm doing. So that's the con of doing it wet. Also, it's splattering all over the walls, which is exactly what I did not want to happen. And yeah, looks like there's gonna be a little bit of mess to clean up, but still making some progress. So I'm gonna keep on going on this thing, and I don't know, looks like it's a mess, but I'm hoping I can get it finished tonight.
Tomorrow.
So change of plans once again. I went to do a little test peek underneath the floor in the office, and there is no wood subfloor. I thought for sure there was, but it looks like it's just vinyl flooring with adhesive stuck directly to the concrete, which is not good. I'm not trying to remove all of that adhesive. It's not worth it. This is just the office, and I'm not trying to do all that work. So The flooring doesn't look too bad as long as I can get it clean. It's very, very gross and dirty. So the goal is just to clean it up as best I can, try to make it look good. But if I can get that clean and then just paint this trim, which I never did paint because I did think that I was gonna be removing that. So leave everything in place. Just give it a nice scrubbing and I think we can work with this. The floor in the office is complete, it is clean, and I have to admit, it actually cleaned up really, really good. I'm really happy with the result. I was even able to go and paint all of the base trim, so that's really making a big difference. Let's check it out. So as I mentioned earlier, I was actually going to rip all of this out and grind the concrete and paint it, and I would have to prep all that stuff. And man, I'm really happy I did not have to do that. I was 100% going to do that until I realized that this flooring was stuck to the ground, to the cement with adhesive. I didn't want to remove all that, so I was like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. But man, this worked out so much better because I didn't think it was gonna clean up this well. I don't think it shows how dirty it was before. I was looking through the photos on my phone and it doesn't really show how dirty they were and how nasty these floors are, but they look really good now. I'm really happy with it. So this is gonna be perfect. It saves me a ton of work, but this is all pretty much checked off now. This whole room is done for the most part. So what I can do now is I can start moving this stuff back into the office. We can get back to the main garage area. What I need to do is get everything cleaned up. I did an initial sweeping, but I'm gonna have to sweep again. And what I'm gonna do is pressure wash everything, get everything as clean as I possibly can. And I'm gonna go a little bit further just because that's what I always do. And I'm gonna go ahead and etch the floor. Now, the whole reason for grinding is so that, that's basically etching it. But I did not get to the corners or the edges. I was going to hand grind everything and I decided it is not worth it. I don't want to do it. No thank you. But I'm going to use the etching for the edges as well as just the whole floor, just to make sure that the one-step epoxy that we're going to be using adheres and sticks, and hopefully we have no issues. So that's the plan. It's pretty inexpensive to get that stuff anyway, so I figured why not? I'd rather know that I did it. Hopefully it'll get us that much closer to perfect adhesion, but we'll see. Let's get to it. So it's been a few days now since I did the etching on the concrete. I wanted to give it plenty of time to dry. So it's been like maybe 3 or 4 days. And I actually saw it, I think 2 or 3 days later, and there was still some spots where there was a little bit of moisture left on the concrete. So after about 4 days now, everything is dry and it looks pretty good. Definitely looks darker on camera than it does in person. It looks really, really bright and white in person, but I guess there are a few little spots here. This is about as far as I'm willing to take it. I'm ready to get this paint on there. This is what we're going to be using. Dry lock concrete paint. It's supposed to be a one-step. I have this 14-inch roller. I was gonna go with the 18, but I don't know. I felt a little better with the 14, so that's what we're using. I've already gone over this concrete a million times, cleaning it, sweeping it, and it's finally at a point where there's like no dust coming up at all, hardly any dirt. So I think we're ready to get this going. I'm gonna start with the paintbrush and do all the sides, all the edges, cut in with all that, and then we're gonna start rolling this in and see if we can get 2 coats out of this. There's actually a 3rd gallon that I have that I ordered it and it got delayed, and I don't know. I'm ready to get this thing done, so hopefully I can stretch it out with these 2 gallons. We'll see. The garage floor is completely done. It's painted. I went ahead and did the 2nd coat off camera. It's the exact same process. It took about 3 gallons to do the entire garage floor, so it's really not too bad. It's dry now. I've been walking around on it. It's been drying for maybe 3 or 4 days. I've dragged a few things across it and it's fine. There hasn't been any peeling or anything yet. I have not driven the truck in here yet, so that's gonna be the ultimate test to see if we get any hot tire pickup. I'll definitely be sure to update you guys if any of that starts happening. But even if it does, I have some extra paint, so it's really easy to touch up, so I'm really not too worried about it. All of the painting in the garage and in the office is done. It's looking good. Everything is nice and clean. So I have a really solid, clean foundation now, and we're almost ready to start moving in. But before we do that, there's one more big project to check off the list, and that's gonna be the lighting. I'm very excited to do this. Anytime you do lighting, it makes such a drastic difference in the entire place. Right now, the lighting in here is terrible. It's really, really dim and dark, and there are some very outdated LED style, like Christmas light looking lights, and they look terrible. So that's gonna be exciting. I'm gonna light this place up, and yeah, it's just really gonna transform it. So I'm really excited about that. That's gonna be coming up in the next video. Hopefully everything goes well. Hopefully I can get to that in the next few days. I hope you all are enjoying this content, this garage building, and kind of all of the work going into this. There's a lot of stuff that I did not include, a lot of the steps. I've been trying to cram everything into one video, and I just really didn't feel like you guys wanted to watch all this, but let me know if you all like it. If you like this kind of stuff, I honestly enjoy it. I like watching like these transformation videos and working in the garage, tools, stuff like that. So if any of you all enjoy that, definitely let me know. I would love to share more of that if you all enjoy it. I think most of my subscribers are waiting for the RAM content, so I'm kind of eager to get to that. But I want to thank you guys again for all the support, everybody watching, the comments, a lot of the regulars out there who are constantly commenting and just showing a lot of support. I really, really appreciate it. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Keep an eye out for the next video. It's going to be pretty awesome. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you all on the next one.